Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was wondering if either the maker of the bill or the chairman of the Transportation Committee would stand for interrogation.
Gentleman, Mr. Mikosi indicates he'll stand for interrogation. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chairman, I'm hoping you can help me resolve some nagging concern I have about this bill. Could you tell me exactly what's the grand total of the amount of the new revenue that will be generated by this bill?
763.
2.3 billion.
2.3 billion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And out of that 2.3 billion, how much of that money is raised from motor license fees and gasoline taxes?
Nothing from motor license. Huh?
Yeah, there's going to be fees. We got the fees right down over here.
You got to be kidding.
1.9.
Turn your mic off while you're asking these guys questions.
Ask him. $2.2 billion.
In the fifth year, okay? Where is it? 2 point, this one?
This plus this.
How much?
2.2.
2.2 billion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So 2.2 billion comes from motor license fees and gasoline taxes out of the 2.3 billion. And so that means, and as I understand it, we're about 500 million is going to mass transit?
497.
497. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to challenge the constitutionality of this bill, but I'm wondering, Mr. Speaker, if you could help me understand how, if Article 8, Section 11 of the state constitution says that all money
Gentlemen,
raised...
suspend. That is not a proper question. Under interrogation of another member, that'd be improper.
Okay, all right. Well, then, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Then on the bill? Thank you.
Gentlemen, is in order on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the interesting thing about the debate that we're having today is that up until about 6 days ago, this debate was entirely an abstraction. We had one bill that we knew of that came out of the Senate, and we knew a lot of the details about it, but we, frankly, I mean, to be candid, how many of us expected that to be the bill that would wind up in front of us in the end? And it isn't exactly what we're looking at. A lot of folks would talk to us about, well, are you going to support the transportation bill or not? And it was a really difficult question to ask because until 6 days ago, we didn't have something specific to be for or against. An interesting thing that's happened here is, unlike many issues that we discuss on this floor, we've actually reached a pretty broad consensus on the question of, do we need to spend more money for roads and bridges? Clearly, roads and bridges are a core function of state government. Clearly, our roads and bridges are a mess, and clearly we need to do something about it. Our businesses are telling us we need to do something to make the state more competitive. The thing that we don't have a broad consensus on is how we're going to pay for this. Mr. Speaker, there have been a lot of different proposals that have been kicked around in committees and in caucuses. Well, only one has been presented to us today, and this one says that we're going to pay for this entire thing by raising gas taxes. So we have a House that's divided on how to achieve a common goal. A few days ago in the Education Committee, we held a vote on a bill that would require that the public be given at least 2 weeks' notice before a school board could vote on a collective bargaining agreement. And the idea behind that was it's good when you have a really big thing going on to give the public time to consider and to provide feedback to their legislators. I believe that the role of the state representative is to listen to the people that we represent and vote in accordance with what they'd like us to do here on the House floor. Some people think that our role is, because we've been elected, we're elected to make decisions for people, but I think that listening to the public has to be a big part of that. And when we haven't had a specific bill to talk about until 6 days ago, I don't think the public has had an adequate opportunity to really supply input on this issue. We got a lot of emails over the summer from people who had a vested interest in the transportation industry asking us to vote in favor of a bill that didn't particularly exist. But in the last 24 hours, I don't think anybody in this room would argue that the tone and frequency of those emails has increased. And I think that the tone is a lot different than it was before. I think that we need to allow more time before we vote on this to give the public an opportunity to tell us what they think about the specific bill that's in front of us today.